Welcome back to the Motivational Mike, the show where we dive into real stories of resilience, reinvention, and the power of purpose. When school ends for individuals with autism, the question many families face is, what happens next? For far too long, opportunities for autistic adults to live, learn, and work meaningfully in their communities have been limited. But one organization has been changing that narrative. Founded in 2011, the Nicholas Center, located in New York, has been revolutionizing how autistic adults are supported, using the community as a university and creating pathways for inclusion, employment, and independence. Through innovative programs and partnerships with over 35 nonprofits, the Nicholas Center empowers individuals not only to find jobs, but to find purpose and belonging. Joining us today are Lee Ann Vetrone, the Director of Development at the Nicholas Center, and Cory Levine, whose personal connection to autism through his siblings Emily and Jamie inspired him to become a passionate advocate and supporter. Cory is also the co-founder of the Tailgate for Autism, an annual charity event that raises funds and awareness for the Nicholas Center's life-changing work. Together, we'll explore how the Nicholas Center is transforming lives, how community-driven efforts like Cory's are fueling that mission, and what it truly means to build a world where every individual can thrive. Please welcome Lee Ann and Cory to the show. How are you guys?
Great. Thanks for having us on, Jacob.
Yes, of
thanks
course.
for having us on.
Yeah. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourselves?
Sure. Cory, you want to?
Yeah, I can kick things off. Cory Levine, grew up in Long Island. I have two siblings with autism, which is the purpose of being on the Motivational Mic today. I'm 30 years old. I live in New York City. I work within licensing at IMG, and I'm super passionate about giving back to the community.
And I am Lee Ann Vetrone. I am the Director of Development for the Nicholas Center, where one of Cory's siblings attends our programming. And we are connected through that and also some fundraising efforts. And really happy to be here to tell you about the Nicholas Center and let Cory share his story as well.
Awesome. Yeah. So, without further ado, let's get into it. You want to tell us a little bit about the Nicholas Center, and can you walk us through a participant's journey from when they first joined to finding meaningful employment or community engagement?
Great question. Great question. So the Nicholas Center was founded 15 years ago in 2011 by three individuals. Two of them were moms with children on the spectrum and the autism spectrum. And they, around middle school, for both of them, they started to think of what's next, right? What comes after school services end at age 21 for their children. And they did not like what they saw. They wanted their children, and they knew that their children were deserving and capable and desirous of being folded into the community. So how did they get that done? They decided to found the Nicholas Center, which one of the core tenets is to be folded into the very fabric of a community where they are. In our case, it's Port Washington, New York, Long Island, and also Westchester and Pleasantville. So that means that we don't have a program where individuals come for the day and stay inside all day amongst themselves. They do that, but a good portion of our programming is out into the community. So helping out with various projects within the community, lots of nonprofits which have small staff to begin with. We help them achieve their own mission and thereby giving our individuals opportunity for vocational training, for community engagement, peer engagement. It's been a win-win. So a typical participant, no participant is typical that comes to us. Everybody's different. Everyone has different needs and, quite frankly, different interests. So when they come to us initially, there's a period of getting to know that individual, having them get to know the participants and staff that we have at the Nicholas Center, seeing of all the programs that we do internally before we go out into the world. And and take them along. But pretty quickly, it doesn't take a long time to have individuals get involved in our chocolate lab, which is one of our businesses, our pantry program, which serves 4,000 individuals and families with needs from all sorts of personal care items that are not covered by food stamps. We do a program like that, all sorts of things out into the community, and it happens pretty quickly. We want to get individuals out and about. Jobs, everything we do has touches on vocational training. So really everything that we're involved in. And then if the individual's interested in working and getting involved in something, we have a whole process of discovering what they might be interested in, which is a whole conversation that these individuals may never have even considered. They may never have been asked, what are you interested in? What might you want to do? And so that's phase one. Phase two is helping them find internships with support from our organization to see if they like this or that or this or that. And that takes a couple different internships often. And then employment, working with employers to see if they would have an opportunity for one of these participants to come and work with them with our support. So it's called supported employment. The staff works right alongside them to learn the job with them, with the goal of kind of stepping back slowly to let the individual gain independence and feel empowered in that role. And that all can happen pretty quickly, you know. So we listen a lot when folks come in. We listen to the families, we listen to the participant, see what their needs are, what their interests are, and then we take it from there.
What's like the range of people you take care of? Is it all disabilities or is it all autism?
Yes, predominantly autism. Often there are folks with dual diagnosis, meaning they may have a whole host of other situations going on. So it really ranges, but our main focus is autism.
Yeah.
And then the only thing I'd add to that, Jake, quickly from Leanne's side is like this is almost you can think of it as like a program that gives these individuals purpose and ways to have something to look forward to after school, right? You know, the school system only goes so long up until you're about 21 years old. And then the Nicholas Center gives them an opportunity once they're 21 and above to go out into the community, have purpose, um, feel like they have a belonging, and have some sort of regimen and structure that's important to them that they can almost treat as school, right? You know, Monday to Friday, 10 to 2 p.m., 10 to 4 p.m., whatever it is. Um, but it's really an opportunity for them to find full-time job.
And it's
Yeah.
people with all types of autism.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
That's great. So you work with 35 nonprofit partners. What does that collaboration look like? It's got to be a lot.
Yeah. So when we formed our core values of our organization alongside of our mission, one of them was community, and that to us meant to be folded into the very fabric of the communities where we are. So that's, as I said, Long Island and up in Westchester. And that meant to go out literally into the community and see where there were opportunities for the individuals we serve. And what we found was there's many, many opportunities for our individuals to get involved. And that's literally from folks who they're nonverbal, all the way to folks who may live in their own apartment and drive themselves to the Nicholas Center. So it really spans a whole spectrum. And so we've gone out and partnered we're lucky in the two locations that we're based in, that there's lots of nonprofits, lots of ways to give back, from the environment to small businesses that are nonprofits, art organizations, health organizations, adoption agencies for pets. It really runs a whole spectrum. And we've partnered with them with all these organizations, increasing as we go along, for 15 years. And so a year ago, we were asked to be the Grand Marshal of the homecoming parade in our community. And because so many of our nonprofits and community partners know who we are. So we had about 75 individuals strong marching down Main Street, and people were waving and clapping. They know us and they know what we do. We show up, we participate, we offer, opportunity. And it was a great full circle moment of being acknowledged by the community. It was great.
How has the Nicholas Center grown over the years? How small was it when it first began?
Small, we came out of, we probably had maybe 10 participants. Well, we started, one of our co-founders had a barn, had like an extra building on her property. And she said, let's try this out with a couple of the young adults that go to school with her son. And so we started to do some training and kind of rudimentary testing out, had some experts come in, and very, very quickly, within about a year and a half, we moved into a building, rented, then we moved into a building that we purchased. And so it really has taken off. There's a giant need, as Cory mentioned. Once individuals age out of high school, which is 21, there's very limited opportunity for employment, for engagement, for community partnerships. And so we knew and hoped there was more out there for these individuals who face 85% unemployment and under engagement. So once school ends, they call it the cliff, meaning what's next, what's going to happen next. And sadly, there's limited opportunities. So we kind of stepped into that space and created something.
It's amazing. So, Cory, you have two siblings with autism, Emily and Jamie, that have benefited from their time at the Nicholas Center. How did growing up alongside them influence your understanding of autism and inspire your advocacy?
Yeah, I'd say, you're kind of thrown into it, right? Like you don't really know what autism is. There's no like handbook. You kind of get this diagnosis and it's like, go figure it out, right? And there's every single individual is different, whether they're high functioning, low functioning, etc. And I think the unique thing is the age gap, but also the difference of like quote unquote spectrum that my two siblings are on, right? My brother's 1 year younger than me, and my sister's 7 years younger than me. So like really growing up side by side with my brother with a 1 year age gap, like those younger ages, age 1 to 7, I don't really have that many memories of like the hardship that my parents went through. And, of course, having two kids, two infants at a similar age, they have to give equal balance between the two kids, but at the same time, one kid being on the autism spectrum and this being something new, it's a whole learning and research side of things that they have to give extra time and energy against. My sister, who's 7 years younger, that I have a little bit more memories of, from the early stages of when she was diagnosed, and how my parents went about the research of resources and services that are out there. And honestly, having an older sibling, in Emily's case, Jamie, that already had autism, a lot of that heavy lifting was already done, right? They already knew what services were out there, what programs were out there, et cetera. But to go a layer deeper, my brother's on a little bit more on the lower functioning side, we'll call it, just from a verbal communication standpoint, where my sister's a little bit more high functioning, and she's part of the Nicholas Center. As Lee Ann's kind of been communicating, there's no two individuals that are the same, right? They have different skill sets, different ways to communicate, so on and so forth. So, I'd say from a understanding of autism, you kind of learn as you go, and everyone's different. But just being super connected to them, growing alongside of them, it really inspired my advocacy. And my parents have done an amazing job over the last 25 years plus of giving back to the community, not just to the services and programs that my siblings take advantage of, but to the greater autism community, always being there for people that, have questions, so on and so forth, which was kind of just instilled in me at a young age and has now allowed me to create charity events such as the Tailgate for Autism that give back to the community and kind of give me something to own and give back. And, as I continue to age, and my parents continue to age, take more of a ownership and parental look for my siblings, as life goes on.
Jacob, if I may add to that, I can't express enough how impressed I am with Cory and his two cousins, Eric and Mitchell, in terms of taking on that charge, because it's not easy. And maybe Cory could speak to that, to be that sibling, to be the sibling. And you see a lot of different responses. And Cory and I have talked about that actually, but I'm so touched, and I've said this to Cory and his cousins before, and impressed with the family and how they have just taken on the charge, and by default, right, Cory, become fundraisers and advocates and kind of go-to people and therapists for just a myriad of folks. It can be very overwhelming, as Cory mentioned, and I just want to give a shout out to Cory for
Appreciate it.
stepping into this role. Really impressive.
I think Jacob, it's not even to spin it back on you, right? But like you have hardships and you don't know any better and you kind of deal with them, and then you use that as a way to give back in some respects and turn it into a positive, right? And I think that's what you're doing, and what's drew me to participating in this podcast. It's an inspiring story, and you're utilizing it as a platform to touch on so many different things outside of cancer, touching on autism here and all the other diseases, for lack of a better term, that are out there in the world that people are facing and challenged against.
Yeah, it's all about cohesion, I guess. Just bringing everyone together. We all fight battles, we all go through things, but at the end of the day, we all have those same feelings as human beings. So,
Absolutely.
That's right. Awesome.
kind of just bringing together and connecting a community.
Yeah.
So, the Tailgate for Autism has become a beloved annual event that you created. So, how did the idea come up?
Yeah, so as Lee Ann mentioned, I started this. This was the fourth year. So 4 years ago with my two cousins, Mitchell and Eric, who are 3 and 6 years older than me. So we've always been connected and giving back to the community through different charity events that have happened over the years that my family has been either co-chairs of or somehow connected to. But as we got older, we really wanted to identify a ownable charity event that we can create and then sustain long term. I went to Ohio State. My two cousins went to Michigan, so we have a nice little like family rivalry. So we're always connected to college football, and we were trying to think of something that our friends would be willing and want to participate in. And then came the idea of essentially just renting out a bar, having everyone go to it and watch college football like they probably do typically on any Saturday. But the dollars are really going to benefit charity and in this case, the Nicholas Center. So typically what the I should say what really goes into the event is renting out a space, working through a deal with the bar where X% goes to the bar, we charge Y, and the margin goes back to charity. And then identifying other ways that we can activate on site and generate more dollars, whether that be through the purchasing of hats and selling the hats on site, doing boxes, similar to Super Bowl boxes where 50% goes to the pot, 50% goes to charity. But it's really a turnkey event. And I think the main thing that my cousins and I have tried to get across to the wider community is that it doesn't take a lot of effort. Anyone can do it. It's just you got to set the time and do it yourself, right? No one's going to give you a playbook on how to do it, but it's not that challenging, and people are out there that want to participate or want to support. You just got to raise your hand.
Yeah, I think it's important to know that you're just a normal guy who so happens to have siblings with autism, and you're able to turn that into a better for yourself and your family. So that's great.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, the one saying that's really stuck with me that my dad says all the time is, if those who can don't, who will? That's always his famous saying.
Good one. That's a good one.
In that case, right, the children with autism can't do it. So you got to do it either as a sibling, as a therapist, as a parent, as a cousin, whatever it is. You're the one that needs to go out and advocate for them.
Yeah.
Right.
The Nicholas Center was founded out of a deeply personal story. So, can you share some more about how those early conversations and experiences shaped the center's mission?
Yes. So as I mentioned, three co-founders, two of them were moms with well, children at the time on the autism spectrum. And they, very forward thinking, started to look at what was next after age 21, which was years ahead for them at that time. And they weren't happy with what they saw. They knew that their children were capable, as I said, of opportunity and participation and connection to community, and that's not what they were seeing in terms of options for their children. So they started to think about it. They started to think about, how do we do this? Just similar to what Cory just said, let's start where we are. What can we do? We can't solve the world's problems, but how can we make life better for the individuals, our children, and the individuals who they're currently in school with? And they started slow, and I don't think I know they didn't have any idea of how this would take off. Today we serve over 160 young adults in 2 counties in New York State, and with a growing waiting list, because sadly there aren't lots of opportunities out in the world for these individuals. And we kind of, like Cory said, we by default become an advocacy resource. Folks call us from all over the country. We've had folks call us from all over the world to say, how can I start something like this where I live? Help me, tell me in 5 minutes. And so I think it's grown. They just kind of didn't say no, similar to what Cory and his cousins did. They just said, what do we typically do on a Saturday? We watch football at a bar. Let's take it and run with that idea. And so, the universe smiles down on those who take charge like that, I think. And it certainly has worked for the Nicholas Center.
So, supporting the Nicholas Center clearly comes from a very personal place. What have you seen firsthand that makes you believe so strongly in their impact?
It's a great question. I mean, you see the impact that it has on the kids there, whether it be, going there and watching what they're doing on a day in and day out perspective, but, being a sibling of someone that attends, you see the smile every time she's talking about it, or every time you drop her off and pick her up. Like, she just has an amazing time there. And, as a sibling or as a parent, you couldn't ask for anything more. As we keep going back to, right, like, after the school system shuts down, it's like, what's next? And this gives them the purpose and belonging within the community. And it's something that provides them with additional skills to further enhance, what they're able to do 20, 30, 40 years down the road. Which is obviously important, because at some point, for my parents specifically, they're no longer going to be here. When Emily's, 50, 60, 70 years old, and like ensuring that there's a service or program that provides her with worth and gives her regimen and schedule to go do stuff and enhance her skills to hopefully one day be a little bit more independent than she is now, right? Every day becoming more and more independent through the skills that you learn is super valuable.
So you've had people call you all over the world about wanting to start something like the Nicholas Center in their own community. Have you thought about possibly spreading the word and, you know, trying to open up other doors in other regions and nations?
Well, interesting question. We opened up our Westchester location during COVID. We had committed to opening, and then the pandemic hit, and we thought, well, what are we going to do? And we did it. We still did it. So we had a actual space up in Westchester, but we also did Zoom, as everybody did in the world. So we made it happen, which is quite unbelievable. We've been there 5 years. So yeah, we actually didn't know where that was going to take us, but now we serve 50 young adults up in Westchester in the region. And last year I got a call from a father in Italy, of all places, and he said, I've heard about you. I'm interested. What's going on? We started a pasta, Italy pasta. They started a pasta program, and he asked us, how did we start our social enterprise businesses? How does it work? What do we do? He came to visit us. No one spoke Italian. They didn't speak English. So it was a really lovely, we did a cooking class virtually. Actually, Emily was on that when they asked her, Cory, what kind of sauce does she like? She says, I only like butter. I
Yeah,
like
very
butter
little
and
butter at
pasta.
that.
It
She
was
wants it
so
plain.
funny. Yeah, it was very funny. And but they gifted us some of their pasta, so we have that lovely connection. Whether we will go global, I mean, I think our message has definitely gone global. Whether we will go global, I don't know about that.
Yeah,
But
that's a bit of a stretch. It's just kind of the idea of just wanting to spread it. With
yes,
yeah,
absolutely. And
yeah,
we end up doing that, as I said, because things like this, right? A podcast or speaking at conferences, offering a support to someone that wants to start a car wash or a candle business, giving them our time of how do you do that? How can we do that? So in that way, we help to spread the mission of what we do.
The fact that you're getting a call from someone in Italy is just, I mean, you know it. I see your face.
It's
It's
crazy.
it's crazy.
It
I mean,
is. It really is.
across the world, they didn't speak English, you said?
Very little. And I'm Italian. I spoke very little. It was very funny.
Wow.
It was very funny. But we had the same message, right? We've had the same
Yeah,
message of inclusion,
same desire.
really.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
fighting for the same thing.
yeah,
So many
yeah.
people want to support autism related causes, but don't always know where to start. So for both of you, what advice would you give to someone who would want to donate or make a difference in their own community?
I'll answer it two different ways. I think the first is, you can almost do it yourself, right? It's similar to what I'm doing with Tailgate for Autism. Of course, you need to have a charity program, service, whatever it is, to have the funds go benefit, but you can almost go and create your own bespoke program or event, and give back. The second is, do your research, right? I think there's things all the way from national organizations like Autism Speaks to regional organizations like the Nicholas Center. Um, and if you want to give back, you can identify what has the most meaning and value to you and reach out. And these organizations are more than willing to give their time and energy to support you, because that's ultimately how they continue to sustain and fund the programs that they're doing, right? These aren't profit organizations. These are all nonprofits, and the way that they're able to scale what they're doing is through the charitable initiatives that either they do as an own organization or through what the community does to give back to them.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm always a proponent of supporting locally, live and support where you are. To that end, we've opened two social enterprise businesses within the last year, a chocolate shop where Emily loves to go every single day, and a candle business. And they've really taken off, which is really great. So there's so many ways to support, from a monthly membership to the Nicholas Center, going to the chocolate shop and buying your holiday gifts there, to offering us a grant, maybe through your business, to attending one of our galas or events and making a sponsorship donation in that way. So there's a whole host of ways specifically to the Nicholas Center. But I would suggest, if there's something local to you where you are that means something to you, that makes a difference, that's where I would start.
Yeah, thank you. So I know at least at my school, what we do is the children with autism every, I believe Friday it is, go around and it's called the Cardinal Cafe, where they make all these drinks and of coffees, teas, shakes, anything just to get practice in. And they go around room to room and they sell them. So I mean, it's pretty cool to see.
I love that. You sound like you have a cool high school that would think of
Yeah,
something like that. That's
yeah.
really great. That's inclusion, right?
Oh
Because
yeah.
by going into a classroom, you're interacting with your customers, the other students, right? You have to inquire, what do they want? And they have to call, there's a whole connection made there that often doesn't with individuals that are kind of marginalized, right? They're not included. So that's really cool. That's really neat to hear.
Giving them skills to engage with peers and learn about what it's like to sell, what it's like to account. I'm sure that's happening on the back end. What it's like to inventory, so on and so forth.
Absolutely.
I know we're also doing a basketball game on November 4th, and it's so we don't call it special ed, we call it unified. So
Cool.
unifying everyone together.
So what's the basketball game? Is that
So
special?
yeah, all the unified students will be playing in a game, which potentially I will be broadcasting.
Oh, that's
Very
great.
cool. Very
Yeah.
cool.
That's really, that's very forward thinking, I have to say. Oftentimes in schools, the special ed department, the staff are overworked, lots of different kids. How do I do this? How do I integrate folks into the general pop? So it sounds like that's been going on in your high school. That's really impressive. That's
Yeah, it's
great.
been for years now, and everyone's nice to each other, everyone bonds with each other. So
Great.
our special ed system is really good over here.
Yeah, it's really impressive because that only builds awareness and empathy and understanding, right? So when individuals graduate out of the school system and they're in the general community, that's our goal also, right? To build if people say, I've never met somebody with autism, chances are they have, they
Yeah.
probably don't realize it.
Mhm.
Um, which and often, you fear what you don't know. So if you start to interact with folks and you have connection by working or however you're connected, that just expands inclusion really and diversity in our culture, which is great.
What are some of the biggest misconceptions that people have about adults on the spectrum?
Cory, you want to take that?
Yeah, I can go first. I think the biggest misconception from my perspective and seeing it firsthand is that they don't think these individuals or kids are smart. Like they just think that they don't have the capabilities of doing and living everyday life. But the truth is that they're honestly smarter than us. They have an amazing way that their brain works. It's just a matter of getting it out of them. They're not able to communicate or express their feelings like we are able to. It's just all bottled up inside of them. So like, and I guess to even go a step further than that, like they all have like a special skill set, is what I've kind of learned, right? Like my brother is an amazing artist. I've seen kids that have an incredible memory. I've seen kids that can do math equations like a calculator can do. Like they all have like a very unique skill set that um, can almost be exploited in a positive way. It's just a matter of finding that way to do it.
Right. And those are almost happy discoveries, right, Cory? Because if an individual can't communicate, it's almost you find it out. But how do you find that out? That's by spending time with the person, observing, listening, connecting with that person, right, Cory? Because it kind of
Absolutely.
then it becomes apparent. You're like, oh my gosh, look at this artistic ability, or look at this. We have individuals at the Nicholas Center who, 8 years ago, I told them my birthday. And if you ask them what day is my birthday in 20 years, they will know it's on a Thursday. I mean, literally. So
Mhm.
such amazing superpowers, right, Cory? I would say superpowers.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, and really, that comes from spending time and being around individuals and engaging with them in whatever way they are able to. And then you have these aha moments like, oh my gosh, wow, cool, you know?
Yeah. I'd say the like a good example of that, right, is like my brother who's a little bit less verbal. Like he understands everything you say. Like you tell him to tie his shoe or go turn off the lights, like he'll go do it immediately. But if you ask him a question of like how he's feeling, he can't really like express himself, right? He'll say like, "I'm good. How are you?" Just because that's the natural default. But like, if you put a pen and paper in front of him, he can write out sentences of how he's feeling, what he wants, and like that's sometimes the way that a lot of these kids are able to express their feelings because they can get it out of them, but if they can communicate and find other ways to um, engage with the person that they're having a conversation with, whether that's texting, writing it down, etc. Like that's something that's really been identified over the last few years that maybe wasn't something that kids 20, 30 years ago had the means of doing just because people weren't aware of what these kids are capable of.
They weren't given a chance, right? There
Yeah.
wasn't, the tools weren't in place, I guess we can say. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So going back to what you were saying earlier about people not getting as many opportunities once they graduate high school, how can communities and local businesses, and for that matter, even big corporations, do a better job of creating inclusive opportunities for these individuals?
Um, I would say to be open. I know that running a business is a full-time job. It occupies so much of your brain. And I think sometimes people, if they're unaware or haven't engaged with individuals with disabilities in the past, they may not be aware of the win-win, right? The benefits of all these superpowers that Cory was talking about that will benefit them. Um, And so I would say to be open. We have an ice cream shop in our community that opened about 2 years ago. And the gentleman that opened it said, I want to have every staff member have a disability. That's my goal. And then he quickly said to himself, well, gee, I've never run an ice cream. I've never run a small business. I've never made ice cream, and I've never worked with disabled individuals. So he had to kind of pare it down a little. But we have at any given time 3 individuals working at this shop. And he said one of the wins that he realized after a year or so of having this shop was often an ice cream shop could be the first job that kids have, right? You're in high school, you get a job at your local ice cream shop. So he said to see the interaction between the individuals that we send from the Nicholas Center with these high school kids, Jacob, like you, is unbelievable. So building like a framework of understanding, of empathy, of having our first job at the same time together. How can we support each other in that, right? He said it's just been unbelievable. Plus, our individuals show up on time. They don't call in sick. They want to be there. They're so excited. They can't believe it, So he's hearing from an employer's perspective, is so gratifying. And he called us up after about 2 months and said, who else would want to work at my shop, because he had such a great experience. And he actually even said to me, can we put up signs around the shop that explain, hey, if you're waiting in line and it's taking a little bit longer than you'd like it to, understand why that's going on. And just so we're teaching the customer, right? We're teaching the students that work there. So being open to a conversation about having a person with a not even a young person, just a person with a disability, not discounting that person right away. That's what I would say. Cory, what would you say?
Yeah, I mean, using another example, my father is a personal injury lawyer, and he has a individual with autism come to his office once a week to do a lot of operational tasks, such as like shredding papers or filing papers, etc. And like this kid, I kid you not, like is so excited to come to the office every week. He brings such energy. Everyone in the office loves engaging with him. He just brings such a charismatic personality and just energy to the office that's you're not just impacting one individual, you're impacting all of your employees as well to connect with that individual. So I think it could be anything from what Lee Ann's describing that's a little bit more consumer facing to all the way to like operational back office. It's just you have to be open and identify the right opportunity that this individual can perform and excel in. Um, yeah.
Yeah. I also think a key setting someone up for success involves support, right? So someone might be great at stocking shelves, but when they go to the break room with other staff members, they may have some issues, some social issues in terms of how to interact, right? So that may cause them to lose the job. Whereas if they have support with them, they can be reminded and kind of led and guided that how do we behave in the break room with our staff, with our fellow staff members. And also you're educating the employer, the other employees who may never have had these kind of interactions. So you're building this whole community of understanding and not just kind of saying, oh, this person's not going to work out and they lose the job. So I think support is a big factor as well.
You guys are obviously doing all you can for these people. What do you think society needs to change in order to truly support autistic individuals in living full and independent lives? Because they are capable of it.
Cory, you want to kick it off?
Yeah, I'd say it's a loaded question and many different ways to answer it, right? Just given where we're at as a country and a
Absolutely.
society. But I think it's just giving them the opportunity to succeed. I mean, I feel like that's the current theme of what Lee Ann and I have been saying, right? Um, no, you don't know what you don't know, right? So you got to give them an opportunity and showcase that they can do this, and that's going to open up more doors for them to have an impact, have a meaningful life, and create more inclusivity within our society.
I agree. Just you're right. You don't know what you don't know. So being open, everybody has something to bring to the table. Literally everybody has a superpower, and giving people an opportunity, opening your mind to opportunity, and allowing those ideas to come in, and to take chances. I think that's really, really important, especially today when there's a lot of divisiveness, unfortunately. So I think being open, and taking a chance.
How do you hope the Nicholas Center's model can influence the broader landscape of autism services nationwide?
Good question. At kind of as default, as I said before, we find ourselves in a position of advocacy. We are very closely connected to all of our elected officials. We educate them so that they can educate, they can write bills, they can speak intelligently on the panels and the committees and the higher offices that they deal with. Often we're called on to do that, which is really great. It's really impressive at the state level, at the national level. And we end up as a default for families, for parents, for schools, for organizations that support individuals, as a resource, really. Where do I go next? What do I do next? So because of that, we find out, we kind of build our resource bank so that we have answers for people at the college level, university level. So we've really kind of have our hands in all different into all different areas, serving on panels, speaking, etc. It can only go up, only up from here. The next is writing our book and our movie with Cory.
Oh, wow.
That's Mitch's job. That's more his world.
Well, for both of you, obviously this is not easy to work in and be involved around 24/7. How has your work really changed you personally? Your perspective on autism, inclusion, and even life?
I think it's just not to like toot your own horn, right? But it just makes you a better person, right? It just creates a mindset of inclusion no matter what the opportunity is at hand, whether that's, here at work and just connecting people, whether that be inviting someone to go get lunch, or like you're on a plane and you see someone with a disability and like lending an extra hand to the parent, right? It's anything from small to large in scale. It's just being there for people, which is clearly the mission of this podcast as well, right? Giving you a platform to speak about your hardships, feel like you're not alone. So I think it's really just changed me for the better. And I think my siblings have really taught me more than I could have ever taught them, right? Like I said, they're smart in their own right, but I think they've made me smarter by giving me the opportunity to learn from them, and just make me a better person.
For me, I would say hope. It gives me hope for our society, for our world. I have seen miracles happen in terms of when you give opportunity to individuals to be included, and just peer-to-peer connections, vocational training, all those jumping off points have given me hope, because I've seen miraculous growth in individuals in ways that their families, that they probably never even considered, opportunities that they can consider now. Just really, I think the message right now is so poignant, as we said, about what's out in the larger world, to see what we can do when we work together, and when we see other people have an open heart, and in giving an opportunity and taking that chance. It gives me hope. It really does give me hope. And getting to meet, and work with really good people who also have big hearts. It just makes me it fills me, and it fills me in a positive way for, going forward for the future.
Yeah, just being able to be there for individuals in such need. And obviously, it's such a small area of, I don't know what you would call it, of care, I guess. Um, there's no really organizations like these. So I think that what you guys are doing is just truly unique, and it's pretty brave.
Thanks, Jacob.
Yeah.
You're,
Yeah.
you're pretty brave too.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. Is there anything else that either of you guys would want to add?
Well, first of all, thanks for having us on and to
Yeah.
tell the story. And I really appreciate that because that is how we get the message out, right? To be open and inclusive. And what does inclusion mean? To be able to speak about that and from people who live it and see it, it's really, really important. So thanks for having the platform, as Cory mentioned.
Yeah.
Uh, and I would just suggest to people to don't be afraid, be open and give a chance. You never know how this is going to change your life. I know how it's changed mine, and Cory mentioned how it has changed and continues to change his in ways you probably never would ever, have thought of, and bring you to places that you never would have thought of. So that's what I would say, I think.
In the 45 minutes that I've been on this call with you guys, I've just learned so much just about individuals and, because I've been around them before, but have I really ever been standing next to them and taking care of them? No. I kind of just brush by them but, I have a really good understanding now of individuals with autism.
That's
No,
great.
I'm glad. Yeah, I would say to build off what Leanne was saying, right? I think like lean in, right? Don't be afraid. Lend a hand. There, as your mission has been, and what you communicated with this podcast, we're all human beings at the end of the day, right? They're not aliens. They're not. They're just like us. They just don't have the same vocational skills that we do, but they have amazing hearts. They want to feel included. They want to have friends. They want to be connected to their family. They want to celebrate good occasions, so on and so forth. So, just be super inclusive, and don't be afraid to identify areas that you can even go above and beyond in terms of support, whether that be giving them the opportunity or fundraising or whatever it is.
Yeah, and I think another important message just to be kind.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's harder to be mean than it is to be nice.
Absolutely. We actually got a thought into being mean. Of course, that's what I do with my sister, but
You might not know.
That's just sibling stuff.
Sibling stuff, right? Right.
Well, this has been awesome. Thank you guys so much for your time.
Thank you, Jacob.
Yeah, no, thanks for having us.
Yeah,
This is awesome. Cool.
Okay, and then Jacob, come on our podcast. Then
I was about to say,
absolutely.
You'll get to interact with 4 individuals with autism who host a podcast. Be an opportunity. I love it. So you know what? Just let me know, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, thanks.
Cory's coming on too.
Yes, I'll be on. What is it? First Tuesday of December, I believe it is.
Yeah.
I'll let you know.
Great. Thank you, Jacob.
Right. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it, Jacob. Yep.
Thank
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you guys as well.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Soon. Thanks.
Bye,
Bye.
The quiet power of advocacy. Advocacy isn't always loud. It doesn't always happen on stages or in headlines. More often, it's steady, patient, and deeply personal. The small, consistent actions that add up to real change. It's the parent who keeps showing up to every meeting to make sure their child is seen. It's the teacher who believes in the student's potential when others overlook it. It's the community members who say everyone deserves a place here and backs it up with action. True advocacy is rooted in love, the kind that fuels persistence when progress feels slow, and hope when the world doesn't move fast enough. Every time you create space for someone's voice, every time you stand beside rather than speak over, every time you choose inclusion over indifference, you're helping to rewrite the story. You don't need a title to make an impact. You just need the courage to care, the patience to act, and the belief that every person deserves to live, learn, and work with purpose. Because advocacy, at its core, is about community, and change always begins with people who refuse to give up on each other. Thank you for listening, and see you next time on The Motivational Mic. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, share, and leave a review. Together, we can spread positivity and make a difference. Join me next time for more incredible stories and insights. Until then, stay motivated and keep pushing forward. Thank you for listening, and see you next time on The Motivational Mic.